You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back for another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, it's Pride Month, finally, which is one of my favorite months of the year. My favorite months of the year are typically February, June, and October, even though, every month it feels good for me. But I love February because it's Black History Month. I get a lot of paid speaking engagements. My husband's birthday is around that time. I have a lot of friends that are Aquariuses. So there's a lot of just birthdays and dinner parties and celebrations that just are just awesome. And Valentine's Day, our anniversary as a couple, all of that is in February, and it's just awesome. I love June because it's the summer for me. It's Pride. I really get invited to a lot of cool parties and social events, and it's just a super gay time of the year. And I also get paid speaking engagements because I'm Black and gay. So, they just seem to want the girl, booked. So it's just another great time as well. And it's also in the middle of the year, that halfway point in the year where you start to reflect on, okay, how's the year been going so far and what's coming up in the fall. So that's fun. And then October is October is my favorite month because one, it's my birthday, but fall is my favorite season. There's just a different energy. I feel like all of the it's not too cold, it's not too hot. I love a good sweater. I love a good blazer, like a really good, you can wear some boots and you can really dress real dapper. I love fall fashion, and the weather is just perfect and the food gets better and things get more seasoned. Everything gets seasoning. Even the lattes get seasoning. They get pumpkin spice seasoning. Everything starts to get seasoned. Thanksgiving, you're getting ready for that food. Fall menus, you're starting to eat real fall things like ducks and, certain stews. I mean, just everything is grown and sexy in the fall. So I love October and I love what it brings. So those are my 3 months. So we're into one of my favorite months, which is June. Love June down. This summer is I'm booked and busy. Like every weekend, there's something going on. There's some excitement. There's something. This summer has been piling up. The Lip Brothers, we're doing some cool things that we're going to be able to announce as we get closer to those dates. But, we're traveling. We're getting booked to go places outside of Philly. My book tour is the second leg is about to begin. The national second leg is coming up in the next couple of weeks. There's some other surprises that's been coming out the turnpike for that. So it's just, it's a good time. It's a really good time. I really, really love June and, just really love what's going on, overall. So yeah. This past week I was busy, as you all know. I've been doing a lot of different things. For starters, Royal Boucherie had the Lip Brothers out for a spritz event. So if you all have been following, spritz is apparently the cocktail of the summer. That's what they're saying. Some people like Aperol spritz, but I tried various different versions of the spritz this past week. They have a new spritz bar that is, jumping and popping right now in Old City, especially Royal Boucherie. They have this new collection of spritz. Some are Aperol, some have different types of liqueurs, but it was pleasant. It was delightful. I'm out here with I guess they call it the Hoochie Daddy shorts. What are those long? Look, we're doing resort shirts, button-up shirts, or what you all will call beach shirts. We're doing it all this summer. We're doing colors, we're doing legs, we're doing thighs. We're doing the whole chicken for the summer. But no, it's been good. It's been great, and it was great to try those drinks and just get in that mood, because everything I'm drinking so far has been in glasses with ice and garnishes. I'm not drinking as much wine. I mean, I still love wine for dinner, but we're moving into these real cool, chilled, fruity drinks, and it's just giving summer. It's feeling like summer. Even though the weather keeps going up and down, the weather doesn't know what it wants to be right now. I'll say that much. But it gets a little chilly, gets a little hot, it goes up and down. So we'll see where that's headed. But so far, I'm loving it. Um, Mr. Johnson and I went to dinner to Spice Finch. We did dinner there. I haven't been to Spice Finch. For those who never heard of Spice Finch, it's a Mediterranean restaurant in Rittenhouse Square. I haven't been there in like years. They opened up like maybe a little bit before the pandemic, and how you have a place that you like or you saw and you're like, oh, I got to go back again, I got to try it or something, and then new restaurants open, new stuff pops, and you just forget about it. And so right now I'm in this phase where I was like, okay, I feel like I'm getting caught up on the new restaurants in Philly somewhat, but I'm pretty much about 90% caught up on all the new restaurants coming in that I want to go to. So now I'm like, let me double back and circle back before these new summer entries come in and go to spots that I've been meaning to go to, but just haven't really did the full experience. So, a couple of weeks ago, I went to River twice, which a lot of people are like, oh, I've been to River twice. Yes, I know, but I need to go back and have the tasting menu and try it and give another go around. And there are some restaurants that are good that I tried on caviar. Like I ordered it during the pandemic to just eat at home, which it was good, but it's something about sitting down at a restaurant and having the real full dining experience that changes things. And so Spice Finch was a place that I need to actually sit down and experience. And we did the tasting menu there. And as you saw in the pictures of my IG, it was great. I have no complaints. I love a tasting menu that's under $100. Now, let's be clear. Not every place can do that, okay? So who does over 100? I mean, a lot of places do, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're never going to get that tasting menu under $100. You can't even get that tasting menu, I think, under 150, or am I wrong? But a lot of tasting menus typically, some of the really fancier places are over $100 per person. That's just what it is. But if you can find a really good restaurant that do it under, it's everything. I think I could be wrong. Zahav was at one point in time during the pandemic when it was, listen, I don't know who did this, but during the pandemic, like when we was in the throes of the intensity of the pandemic, Zahav was out here doing, I think, $70 tastings. And it was easy to get a reservation, but logically because of what was going on in the world. But I was going in there. I think I went to Zahav. I had a Zahav moment. I think I went to Zahav maybe 4 times in 2021, like right before my wedding. We went to Zahav a couple of times, and I was going with friends. It was easy to get a reservation because of everything that was going on. It was a time. What a time. But the food was on point. I remember that tasting menu was like around $60-$70 per person. Of course, that didn't include drinks, but it wasn't that bad. Spice Finch is around the same price. I think Spice Finch tasting menu is $69 per person, and it comes with dessert as well. Which is even better because some tasting menus don't do dessert. Depends on what you're doing, but that spread is enough. I mean, let me tell you something, y'all. It's very filling. It's everything you need. It does what it needs to do. But it was a really great dinner. And it's, if I'm not mistaken, it was for per person. Yeah, it was $69 per person. So it was meant to serve for 2, and they have like you could choose between a lamb shank or the fish. We were greedy, so we added the fish 2 hours, which when you are dealing with a good tasting menu like that, you can have a little bit of fun and splurge. But the food was phenomenal, and it was a great time for sure. And definitely very summery. The cocktails that they had, the menu was the summer menu, so I highly recommend it. Outside of that, I made my cameo appearance in the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, which is the art and theater, which the show is still running right now. So if you haven't gotten tickets, you want to see it, you should check it out. On Saturday, I made my cameo appearance in the Spelling Bee and had a good damn time. I couldn't really film anything because it is a show. There were a couple pictures that I got to show. So if you saw the pictures, I was there being cute. What I will say is that now that, my cameo was done, and it was quite this fun time, and everyone got their laugh when it was a fun experience. What I will tell you all is that they did not, for those who went, because there was a couple of you all who went and DM'd me, and it was great. It was a great show. It was a crowd. Oh my goodness, you all were out there on a Saturday night, and the fact that you all showed up in spite of everything else going on this weekend at Pride and that Roots Picnic, or as me and my friends, we always, anytime we don't like something, we give it a new little shady name. We call it the Boots Picnic, because it was Shady Boots. Anywho, if you were not the Boots Picnic, if you was not at, everywhere else, thank you for coming out and supporting the art in theater. They're incredible. There's lots of great talent actors there. So, for people who did not know, let me be very clear. We did not know what words we were going to spell in that scene. Like, as a person who was in the show, they did not tell me what the words they were going to give. I improvised. There was no acting. They just kind of told me, hey, there were little cues like, hey, at some point they'll be standing up, they might be dancing, they'll tap you, they'll tell you where to go. It was very self-explanatory on that front, but all the stuff you all saw me do on stage was just me just in the moment. And I did spell those words, and they did not expect me to slay with my spelling. So again, if you weren't there, you won't know everything. But basically what happened was that I was asked, I was a participant. So I was in the play as a person participating in the spelling bee along with the actual cast. So the cast spells words. Now those words are lines. Those are scripts. They're following the script. It's an actual show that was on Broadway at one point in time. It's a musical. But in this particular role, I was up there to spell a word, a couple of words. And basically they told me to just continue to spell until I can't spell the words anymore. At some point, they will give you a hard word. And then at that point, it's a word that they don't expect you to spell. And then you're supposed to spell it wrong, or they expect you to spell it wrong. And then that's it. Problem is, child, I can spell. The dog can spell. And I'm a writer, so I can spell. So it was weird because at the point at which to play, I was supposed to misspell the word. Not that they told me to misspell it, but they assumed that I couldn't spell the word because it was a hard word. And they wanted me to spell it, and I spelled it right. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go back and sit down. The awkwardness was to say, oh, no, you have to stay on stage. It's a marathon. I'm like, they had to ad-lib this because at that point. So they gave me another word to spell. I spelled that word right. And then, for humorous purposes, they gave me a made-up word that was like a real long word that I couldn't clearly spell. And that was the way they was able to make sure that the play go on. Now, I mean, look, y'all, I'm not going to, it was nerve-wracking because I was on stage like, what if I get the wrong, but I was getting the words right. And it was fun, but they had a really great musical number. We danced. It was a fun set. The crowd went wild. It was a good time. I loved it. You just had to be there to see it. But it was a really great show, and the cast was great. And what was so funny was at the end of the show, everyone kept coming up to me saying, oh my God, you were so great. They thought I was an actor. I was like, no. But my background, in high school and middle school, I did theater arts and did a lot of work like that. And I love plays and theater. And honestly, if I wasn't, as gifted and talented and other things that I do in life, I would be an actor. I was interested in being an actor many, 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 many years ago. And, did national speech and debate competitions, theater arts. I did plays up until I was 17. And I even did professional, like, out of campus plays. I was getting paid and doing off schools, like professional shows in Houston for different types of groups and organizations. But I really was interested in acting. And, I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before, but then I got a call from my counselor when I was in the middle of high school, and they said, Mr. Owens, what do you want to do with your future? And I was like, what you mean? Like, I don't know, I'm going to go to college. I didn't really know. I thought at that time, I think I wanted to go to Juilliard. I was like, I want to go to, go to Juilliard, be an actor, do some theater stuff. And they were like, you're ranked number 1 in your class. And I was like, I'm what? Because I was making, I was doing good. I was taking AP classes. I had good grades. They were like, your GPA, you have you're number 1. That was my ranking. And then I was like, oh, snap. And I remember my mom and us having a conversation. It was like, With grades like this, you could do, you could go to different schools. You're like my whole imagination about what I could do in my life changed. And there's no shade to people that want to be actors. I'm not saying that acting isn't a great place to be and wonderful stuff, but like when I just thought about what I could be, because in my high school, everybody that looked like me was, they wanted to be in music, they wanted to be a dancer. Look, Beyonce went to my high school. Like these are facts. Lizzo went to my high school. Like, not at the same time, but these people, my high school had a reputation of producing great basketball players. Rashad Lewis went to my high school. Lots of singers, dancers, people like that was the culture. The black kids were often interested in sports and theater arts and creativity, and that's where we wanted to be. And so oftentimes our valedictorians were students who were non-black. They were Indian, they were Asian, they were from different backgrounds. And here I am being one of the first and the few black valedictorians in my high school's history. My graduating class was 1,000 kids. My high school had about 5,000 kids. A-Leaf High School. The world was just different. And so my perspective at that time, it was 2008, hey, you could be more. And so, of course, at that time, I was like, well, I do like the law. Maybe I should be a lawyer. Maybe I should be a politician. And my goals changed. My whole outlook changed. The things I did, the organization I was a part of, it changed because I realized that I had more to offer to the world than just entertainment. And that's what happened. And the rest is history. But as you all can see, I've carried that energy, charisma, and spirit in my ability to have a presence in the podcast, in the journalism, in the writing, in the work. And those types of skills, I recommend everyone to do it. Like one of my good friends, Laura, her daughter does theater arts and does is a really talented small child. She's a great actress, a good child actress. She has lots of energy and spunk. I think about, I tell people, even if even if she may not be an actress, maybe, or whomever might down the road might not consider acting in the future, I think everyone's kids should try to participate, at least taking one theater arts class or doing something. Because what I will tell you all, which you probably won't even know, is that when I was very young, I was very, like I had anxiety attacks. Like I was very young and very shy. And I don't know if the word is shy, but just very anxious and very like, not as extroverted as I am today when I was much younger. But speech and debate, theater arts, all those things really, you know, brought me out and really allowed me to speak up for myself and to vocalize my ideas. And it also shaped the way I was able to, do things in the classroom. So I think, I'm really big on the arts, love plays, love theater. And I think again, it's something important for people outside of the idea of doing it as a profession, but just getting experience to like I always feel like going to a good player, a musical always raises my spirits up and raises my energy up. And people like movies and movie theaters, but live theater, live performances, nothing beats that. Like it's the best thing ever. I have always told myself since I was in my 30s, I always told myself my goal was always to go to more live plays than movies. Facts. Like I will buy a play ticket, a musical ticket, more than I will faster than I would pay for a movie ticket. And I love movies. I love the cinema as well. But I think live theater is where it's at. Like go to a good musical, go to a good play. Arden has great stuff. I just love the Arden theater. But there's other great theaters too that I go to a lot. The Walnut Street Theater. There's other great places. Um, Miller Theater is really good. Um, the Wilma Theater. Oh my gosh, Wilma Theater is awesome. But like, there's so many great plays and things to see in the city, and so just make that time. I mean, people think tickets are super expensive. It's not. I know everybody goes to the Kimmel Center. The Kimmel Center's got the big Broadway shows, but there's a lot of other theaters out there that are selling tickets that's not that wild and have great shows and great experiences all year round. So just, support the local theater, support that kind of stuff. And you'll be surprised how it can really, upstart conversations and thoughts about the world. But my soapbox on theaters and whatnot, loved it. But the show was great. I had a good time. My folks came. My homegirl Lauren came out. Of course, Jamarcus came through. My other lit brothers was out of town. Mr. Johnson, of course, came. And it was a good time. It was a fabulous time. It was dope. Also this week, I, of course, as you all know, I was on the City and State Pride Power 100 list, number 74. Do not start, y'all. Here y'all go, because people was like, "Why 74? You should be higher." Listen, I'm just grateful to be on these lists. I don't get into the politics of why people put lists the way they do and how they do and why they do. Listen, rankings always stay off, but I just am grateful to be a part of that, part of that experience. There was a good party. They had at Cockatoo, no pun intended, which is in the neighborhood, Cockatoo. It's a fun bar though. They have great drinks. But we were at Cockatoo, and and it was great. It was Josh, it was my friend Andre, it was George, no, George wasn't there. It was Jamarcus, Josh, Andre, myself. We all just had a boys experience, their boys night, and it was nice. It was a good vibe. It was fun. They put my name and ranking on the screen, and it was a lot of great folks there. Rue Landau, who is the first openly LGBTQIA candidate to ever win the Democratic primary, win a primary. She's going to be the first openly gay person elected to city council in January. So she was there. She was on the list. She did a fabulous job. Shout out to my good friend Chris Bartlett, who announced that they had a colonoscopy, which they shared this really intimate thought about the health and everything, how they had a bill of good health. That's I just think that's fascinating. I think it's a great story. It's funny, they shared on their Facebook a picture of someone else getting one, but it was a white guy. And at first I looked at first glance, I was like, is that him? Because sometimes, white men be looking the same at some point, some of them. But it wasn't. It was just another picture. I was like, I know this is a lot of photo right here. But they were but they were sure to make the point, and they were talking about that, and it's important, and people are scared to get those, get them, or guess, but it is good to get them when you get to a certain age. I know in the next couple of years I'll be due soon. I'm in my early 30s, but listen, prostate cancer is real. I think more people talk about it more after Chadwick Boseman's passing. And so more people are talking about the health, especially amongst Black men. But checkups are important, and everyone should be getting them. And um, I'm not going to be, I guess, what's that word, crass or crude. But people, for some reason, there are men who are scared to get it because of where certain devices go. And I'm just kind of like, for me, I'm like, that ain't nothing. But if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. No pun intended. But everyone should get one. Everybody should get a colonoscopy. Everybody should get checked up at their right times. Talk to your doctor. Google, research from credible sources what it entails and details. But it's important to know that about your health, especially given everything that's going on in the world. It's like, be proactive. Get one. Get it checked immediately. So, just wanted to put that out there. But shout out to Chris for having a good bill of health and doing their thing. But yes, I guess, how did I go from colonoscopies and city and state and boy? So they were on the list too. Congratulations. But it was a good party. It was fun. It was nice. It was nice to see the folks. Pride Week kicks off in Philly, begins in Philly. I did my annual tradition, which is I think for the past 3 years, Jamarcus and I have made it a point to go to Sofitel for the drag tea brunch. It is a Philly gay tradition. It's my personal pride tradition. Every June, I think of Pride. I think of that drag tea brunch at Sofitel with, of course, Brittany Lynn, who's an incredible drag performer, and of course, the Philly Drag Mafia, which the girls go out, they do their thing. You all know what it gives. I have my ones. Shout out to the straights that came this year with ones because y'all paid attention. I'm always going to have a stack of ones ready for the girls. It was a great drag brunch. Lauren came along with us, one of my homegirls. The three of us came through. It was a great brunch. They had like a tea time situation with all the nice little nibbles and bites. There was tea, of course, but it was an open mimosa, an open bar, like a mimosa, just mimosas all day, just full-fledged bottomless mimosas. No pun intended to the bottomless, because there was plenty of bottoms there. But for this, it was bottomless when it came to the mimosas. So we all got mimosas and just kept drinking throughout the whole time. And it was wild because I feel like the more I drank, the more generous I got with my ones. I had to watch myself. I was like, was that performance worthy of 3 or 2? and far of ones. But no, it was great. It was a good opportunity. It was a good experience. People really showed up and showed out this year. The performances, the costumes. I gave y'all a sneak peek of some of the costumes and performances, but I try not to share too much of all of the performance because what's the point of going? It's going to be running every weekend. So please get one. I don't think it costs too much to actually participate in the brunch. I mean, you get bottomless drinks, you get the food, you get the treats, and pretty much you just bring your own ones and you tip the performers. But it's a really nice experience on a good Saturday. So if you have nothing to do, check that out. It's at Sofitel downtown in Philly. Now, there is this whole scandal about French Quarter. There's a French Quarter during the at the I don't know what the hell this is, but everyone's talking about some alleged French Quarter that's in Philadelphia, and I'm like, French Quarter, what are we talking about? But apparently there's a French Quarter section that's around Sofitel in that area that is in Philadelphia. Like, I'm referring to like the French Quarter of New Orleans, but I think that's bullshit. I've never heard of this. I can't co-sign it, but that's what they're saying allegedly. So there's the French Quarter. But we were inside Sofitel, inside in the back. There's a restaurant in the back that apparently is really good. Now I've had breakfast there because my parents stayed there when my book signed. They stayed to Sofitel. And they had a nice time. The brunch was good. They had all these breakfast tickets and stuff. Because let me tell you about my mom. One thing about her is that anytime customer service and stuff is not popping, she finds a way to make sure she talks to the manager and get what she need. Because I was like, how did you get all these breakfast tickets? And this is another story for another day. But she was, it's just when you don't like your service somewhere, speak up. Especially if you travel and you're paying good money. I know people always will like just go on Yelp or go on Google and put a complaint. No, let people know immediately. You'd be surprised what you can get if you just, have your shoulders back and state your demands and your claims and articulate what's wrong and what you would like. And you'd be surprised what you can get. But Sofitel was awesome as far as the brunch for this weekend. And the drag tea brunch was fun. Good food, good performances. I can't complain. Um, I'm thinking about, well, I'll talk more about the rest of Pride later in this episode. I was going to say something about something else that went down, but I'm going to save that for later in the podcast. As far as the book tour goes, more details are coming. There is something fun happening. What I will say without announcing it and putting out there yet, because I feel like it's going to come out in the next couple of days, but I do want to get people ready for what's coming next. If you can be so kind, if you like to go out, there is an event I'm having. More details will come, but for now, if you can, if you are looking for a good time and want to have a good evening, Friday, okay, June 23rd, the evening of Friday, June 23rd, if you're not doing anything, hold that on your calendar. Something's coming. I can't announce it yet because other things need to come out, but if you are not doing anything on Friday, June 23rd, there is a special, really cool event, something I've never done before, but something I've always kind of wanted to do that is happening. And it's, of course, connected to the book. And I would encourage you all, please, please, please save the date on your calendar. Friday, June 23rd, the evening, not the afternoon or morning. You're fine there. But the evening, save some time. If you're not doing anything, if you're out of town or something, it's different, but there's something really, really cool and special happening that date. And so save that on your calendar, Friday, June 23rd. I'll leave it there. Now, moving along. So last week we talked about President Biden and Kevin McCarthy working on this whole national, deal around the debt ceiling. Pretty much they've reached a deal. And I told you all what was going up for sale, what was going to be the thing that was going to scare us all, what was going to be the big compromise of sorts. Well, it looks like we have found that thing. That thing is dun da da dum, dun da da dum, dun da da dum. Oh, that's right. Student loans are coming back at the end of the summer. Yes, Biden caved in. Student loans, if you have them, which many Americans do, well, you'll have to start repayment on them as part of this deal Biden struck with the Republicans. Now, this month, June, is a big damn deal because June is the Supreme Court. We're going to find out if the Supreme Court is going to make a ruling, what the ruling is going to be on Biden's debt relief plan for student debt, like that $20,000, repayment, that discount. I don't know if the word is discount, but that reduction potentially for a lot of people who got Pell Grants and whatnot. That 20,000, that 20K is huge. If Biden is, hey, if the Supreme Court, rules in Biden's favor, many Americans will get $20,000 off their student loans. If the Supreme Court rules against it, then then nothing moves. The repayment happens, nothing moves. I have a funny feeling that maybe there is a sense that the Supreme Court might rule in favor of Biden's decision, and Biden might have the authority to be able to take that 20K off. I mean, everything lies in the balance. I mean, if Biden succeeds in this is to me, student debt is his Obamacare, in my opinion. I feel like this is his big, splash. If he can get this through, voters will love him and go out to the polls, because all of these voters, these young people, can say $20,000 off my student loans because of Biden. We've never seen anything like this for a mass of people in our history. Now, many people say all of the loans should be canceled. Child, that's not going to happen. We realistically, look, I'm a pragmatic progressive, and I know people hate that. Some people hate that, but we got to be real here, right? We are in a space where, yes, idealistically, ideologically, I believe that we should not have student loans. I think that all that should be done. But unfortunately, we live in a capitalist America and a society that just is not going to do the things they should do. There's a lot of things that should change in this country. This is not going to immediately. So where am I realistically? We have a conversation right now about 20,000. And let's just see if we can get this 20,000, right? Then who's to say that maybe, 2 or 3 years from now, the next president or the next person might, come through and say, okay, let's do 30,000, and then let's see where that goes. But who knows, right? But something's got to start. So we got to see the precedent here that if Biden can be able to, really reverse this and switch this around, this might change the way a lot of other things get done in this country. But we got to see. But I knew that there was a major loss. But I need to figure out what the rest of the deal entails. We're still figuring out. We don't know how Democrats are how Republicans are gonna vote on this. It's very interesting to see how this is hammering out. Now, what I have heard and what I've seen is that, there's a conversation between the Senate and the Congress. People are not trying to support this, but let's be clear. It looks like Biden's like, look, he's gonna veto it anyway. He's gonna exercise his veto anyway, regardless of wherever Democrats or Republicans vote on this issue. So far, it seems that the Senate, it didn't pass through the Senate. The Senate did not support Biden's student debt relief initiative, and that includes some Democrats being backstabbers, which we kind of know who those players are, or the presumption of who they are, right? Because Kristen Sinema is no longer a Democrat. I guess they're trying to be independent. So we already kind of know what that's giving. But at this point, it'd be interesting to see how this plays out when it comes to the Supreme Court decision while also dealing with the debt ceiling crisis. So we'll see. As you all know, on Sunday night, CNN had the town hall with Nikki Haley. I'm not really crazy about Nikki Haley. I think there's so many reasons why. But, Nikki Haley just seems to be someone who is just if intellectually dishonest was a person, Nikki Haley would be one of them. I say that because in one breath, Nikki Haley plays into identity politics, talking about how she's an Indian American woman and all these experiences as a person of color. But then at the same time wants to deny that racism exists and deny the Republicans' role in racism. So it's like, which one is it? And this is what I mean when I say that when we talk about people of color, we got to be really clear that this people of color idea does not automatically speak to one's political background and interest. And we've consistently seen that throughout politics, that racial identities, gender identities, sexual orientations, right? That these things do not automatically determine one's political alliance because people work through systems of privilege and opportunity that will make them become their worst enemies or the worst enemies to people that are from their community. So we really need to stop. And I just think there is a level of people that think that because Nikki Haley is a woman of color, that somehow her politics are going to be less, tight, less toxic than I guess her whiter male Republican counterparts. Bullshit. Nikki Haley is somebody who is invested in her own, political, climb. And if that means that she's going to step over other black and brown people that, seek to call on more accountability from her and the Republican Party, she'll do what she needs to do. And there's a lot of them that do that. There's a lot of Republicans of color, right, that ignore the real legitimate problems, or they try to, direct or divert the public's attention to Democrats. Trust me, I know there are racist Democrats. I know that there are white Democrats in the party that only want black people to just vote in the way they want to without actually putting any other skin in the game. Like, I know that already. That's nothing new. What I want to be clear about is that we're seeing Tim Scott, who's a black man. You're seeing Nikki Haley, right? They're running on the run for president. And there's almost like this sense that they think that their particular presence is going to help give the Republican Party a facelift from the racist history that they continue to promote and perpetuate. It's not, because people don't take them as actual diverse people in that regard. Their politics don't speak to anything around black liberation or diversity and equity. It's more of pushing the promote by your bootstraps. If we create this leg up type of economy, then it will just splash over like Reaganomics and benefit our communities the most. It doesn't, because there's gatekeepers. But the political logic is just not there, and the intellectual honesty is not there, and that's why I can't take her seriously. But she's at the town hall trying to make these little points, and it's just like, no. And shame on CNN for continuing to act like there's an actual legitimate conversation to be had with those candidates at all, because it's really just feeling like you're just giving a platform to spread more misinformation. Just because, if we let the Democrats, then we have to let the Republicans. You actually don't. You can actually have discernment and news judgment to figure out, how do you want people to present on stage. But here we are. Now we're here, right? We're at Pride Month. And I was taking some time to really reflect about how I wanted to discuss this. But, I haven't gone to the Pride Month parade in a while now. It's been over 5 years since the black and brown stripes and the pride flag that I helped inspire alongside, the black and brown activists in Philadelphia who did that meaningful work back in the day, back in 16, we say. A lot of people, ask me about the Pride Parade and what's been going on. And, I haven't really said a lot. But what I will say is that, Philly Pride Presents doesn't exist anymore. I mean, as far as the institution, there's no Philly Pride Presents running it. So Pride has become a little bit more liberated, quote unquote, since then. But I must tell you all personally, there's just other ways that I'm going to choose to celebrate Pride. I just feel like the way that Pride continues to be commercialized, mainstream pride parades have just been exploited and just been censoring whiteness is just a turn off for me. I just hate that there are people within the neighborhood, and I'm just gonna, name some things that want to have a monopoly over it. Like they want to literally treat this like they're a gatekeeper, and it's disgusting. And they don't think that it's what they're doing, but it is what they're doing. Like when you have white cisgender gay men that are literally using these moments to exploit our community, to sell products and to push companies that they represent, that are their clients, to just push products and push shit and sell things, and they make a buck out of it, when we're dealing with a community that's dealing with a lot of poverty and a lot of hurt and you're seeing them, play gatekeeper. It's really hard to support that as a collective. And so I've kept my distance because one of the things that was supposed to happen was that essentially Philly Pride was supposed to be a community driven effort that really was not supposed to go in the hands or be, taken by a couple of white men like it's been in the past, white people just taking over shit and then trying to repurpose it. Like this was a riot, y'all. Like we got Pride over 50 years ago from a riot that happened at Stonewall, from incidents that happened in Philadelphia. And these were not peaceful protests. This was police sanctioned violence, and queer folks, specifically transgender people that were black and brown, threw hands. Okay. They didn't throw M&Ms and Skittles and colored shit. They threw hands and bricks, and they fought, and they were demonized, and they did this because they couldn't. If you read my book The Case for Council Culture, I talk specifically about Stonewall and that history, and what it meant and how did it play into council culture as we know it today. And so many people have gotten so caught up in the rainbow capitalism. And for those who don't know what that term means, rainbow capitalism basically means when companies, groups, and individuals basically try to capitalize off of the pride, in ways that are disingenuous and lacks intentionality and actual advocacy. They basically, see an opportunity to say, look, this is gay, buy it and support the gays, but it's really supporting their own personal coffers and businesses. And even when they try to support, LGBT groups, it's a percentage, right? It's a certain, proceed that is a little drop in the bucket compared to how much they're making overall. And what has happened with Pride is that the straights have taken over Pride. I'm not gonna hold you. The straights have. I see more straight people excited about Pride than the folks I know. Like we're like, okay, it's cute, it's cool. We like, all right, but they go all in because it's such an opportunity for them to virtue signal. There's a lot of people that's virtue signaling on social. Like they put these pictures up, they take these pictures with their shirts, and they wear all this little stuff and say, "Yay, it's Pride," and they get hype. And I'm sitting here looking like, so this is what it is for you. It's an opportunity to put up a rainbow and act like you're doing something. It's like a way to be cool. But how many of y'all got like actual give? Like how many of y'all are really standing up for the LGBTQI community on a regular basis? How many of y'all are actually doing the real things to show, that you're, an ally, or that you're, an accomplice? Or are you only doing it for convenience? Like we still see y'all out there at Chick-fil-A. We still see y'all out there, going to Chick-fil-A when you can get a good chicken sandwich at Shake Shack, or you can get a really good chicken sandwich at Popeyes. Okay, sidebar, those ghost pepper wings at Popeyes, y'all, if you thought that you wouldn't like it, I'm here to tell you that you would like it. I know that's random, but since we're talking about homophobic chicken, let's talk about some unhomophobic chicken. The ghost pepper wings at Popeyes are the bomb. I highly recommend you try them. And if they're asking what side to eat with them, get the red beans and rice. It complements the chicken really good. Okay, back to the bullshit. So yeah, Chick-fil-A is just like, we still see y'all out here going to Chick-fil-A, and y'all already know what's up. Then the Roots Picnic folks, y'all went and took y'all ass to go see to the Roots Picnic. And it wasn't just about, it was not just about Dave Chappelle, okay? It was about Dave Chappelle, Charlemagne the God, DJ Academics, Talib Kweli. It was about all of them who have had a history of antagonizing trans people, queer people, and also partaking in misogynoir. Like this is real shit. But no, you all wanted to see Lauryn Hill, and we'll get to Lauryn Hill and that 45-minute lateness. But you all, this is what y'all cared about, and it's like, at what point do you all take a stand and really make a sacrifice, right? Because that's really when the allyship matters. It doesn't matter when it's convenient, right? When it feels good. Wearing a little rainbow t-shirt is no fucking risk for any of us. And this is what I mean by white people too, right? When we say white people, how do you show up for black and brown people, right? It's easy to just say Black Lives Matter now. Like that means nothing. But when are you going to do the real back-breaking work that's going to require some level of legitimate sacrifice and actual, some real skin in the game? Like, what does it look like? Does it look like, oh, maybe, certain things that you could get or would get, you can't get because it's wrong? Does it mean sacrificing, saying, look, Ruth's Picnic is cute, it's lit, but you know what? I can't support them because of this. And not only that, but maybe letting them know to say, hey, man, this ain't right. Like, I can't support this because this is problematic, right? That's the stuff you do, and you don't complain about it because it's the right thing to do. I can't tell you. I've had to do things, right? Like, look, I don't listen to R. Kelly. Did R. Kelly do anything to me? No. But what R. Kelly has done to countless black women, I can't listen to his music. And I'm from Chicago. I was born in Chicago. My family's from there. I was younger, many years ago, of course, back when I was younger, Step in the Name of Love, The World's Greatest, I Believe I Can Fly. These were the songs. R. Kelly, is a horrible person, but talented as fuck. And, I grew up hearing R. Kelly's music and thought that was going to be my day, my wedding. We were going to be dancing Step in the Name of Love and playing Ignition. Nope, can't do that anymore. And that's, and that's okay, right? Because I understand what it means to show up and be in solidarity. Look, I don't really fuck with the NFL. Y'all know how I feel about the NFL because what they did with Kaepernick, right? And it wasn't even just about Kaepernick. It's about the way they've done domestic violence, their stance on domestic violence, their stance on stuff. I really don't fuck with the NFL. But I'm just saying, we as a group, as a collective, as people, especially those who arguably claim to be liberal and progressive, we don't show up, and people see it. People see it. People see the complicity. People see the complicity. And I'm not rooting all this based on celebrities, right? But just saying, like, what does it mean to give your money to certain institutions that are creating harm? And doing it during Pride Month not every fucking month matters, but like, God damn it, you're doing it in our faces. And it just shows you that this is fake, right? This is fakeness. This is performativeness. This is fakeness. Like, seeing people go out and show up to that shit, it's just like, y'all don't have no fucking backbone. Shame on you. Shame on you. And try to act like it don't matter, right? But it's the same things and this is me talking to other black people that went out to the Roots Picnic, right? This is the same stuff we get mad at white people for, right? We tell white people, you can't rock with Trump. Don't listen to Fox News. Don't do this, don't do that. And then we see white folks do it and we feel like, see. But this is some of the shit that we do in other communities, though. The hypocrisy's there. We all just got to be better, period. And as far as this Pride Month going in Philadelphia, a brief history for those who don't know, but ever since the pandemic, there was a big moment where there was activists and protests that called on this to get done, like to be changed. They wanted to see Philly Pride Presents change. They boycotted the original owners because they felt like it was charging people, it wasn't inclusive enough. And then there was a movement that was community driven to really throw the event with the least amount of police presence, reducing some of the other harms. As time evolved, a lot of those efforts failed because there was just a co-opting of the movement from private interests that came in and basically threw sponsorships and money and things into the mix, but now has decided to exploit it. And now that community element is just not there. And it's interesting because somebody who was involved in this new Pride initiative and all of this, they were asking me, oh, what do you think about this? And I just didn't have that much energy. And they were like, oh, you don't seem enthusiastic. No, I don't. Because I know what it is, And when you know what these things are, when you know that it's the same people that's pulling the strings, like they're using these, you see this stuff. Oh, this bakery has rainbow colored, bagels and 10% is going to go. And they always give it to the same organizations. And no shade, I love some of those organizations personally, but it feels so scripted. It's almost like if you think about nationally, right? It's buy a Pride button and 10% of the proceeds are going to go to the the Trevor Project, and then the other amount of money is going to go to human rights, campaign. Like they're going to pick the same safe choices every time, and then the groups that really need the money and some of these groups that really, really need help don't get the help. So yeah, this is the state of where pride is at. So how do I celebrate pride personally? Look, I just stay black and I just stay queer and I just, pride for me is 365. I have great sex. I go out with my gay friends and we go and get drink and we do hood things. I go out with my hood friends and do hood rat things. No, I just go out and have a good time and live my best life. That's exactly how I celebrate pride. And, you know, keep the history alive and just, do me. I don't know. I mean, there's no, unlike other months, right? Like, Black History Month, there's, I guess, more rituals and things. I mean, with Pride, it's just like everything has been just so hijacked. It just feels so corny now. Like everything is in my face. And I think it's more so appealing to straight people than us. Cause half of that stuff, some of these designs, I'm like, this is not even a cute shirt. This is ugly. I won't wear that. Not to say that I don't get the message. To be honest, to be really clear, maybe because I'm like a little bit older now, I think that Pride Month is really important for younger people. I think that I look at it as let's let the kids feel good. Let the youth have a shine. I really think Pride Month is important for them. And so I will not take that experience away from the young people, those who are under 30 that, I mean, there are others who can find value out there, but the folks that are under 30, many of those of which are in high school, 18, the youth, this is an opportunity for them to get some exposure and to, feel seen and visible. And it might be inspiring them to come out. I think it's good for the youth. I definitely think it's good for young queer people specifically. I think when I was younger, Pride felt a lot different because it felt like an opportunity to be more seen and be more vocal at a time where back in those days, being gay wasn't so in, you know what I mean? But now I'm much older. I guess I'm in a place of privilege, right? Because I'm married and I got a spot. I have friends. I have a support system. So for me, it doesn't hit the same way. But that being said, I do think if we are going to focus on the next generation, young people, then Pride has to be less about selling shit to them. Stop trying to take every damn dollar they have for a t-shirt, a sweater, or a mug. Like just do better when it comes to providing access to real resources, health assistance, breaking the stigma on issues like HIV and homelessness and access, right? There's so many health disparities within our community, and Pride could just be so much more than what it is when it comes to addressing these inequities. It's too much conversations about RuPaul's Drag Race and representation in movies. I'm worried about representation in the job market. Okay, are we talking enough about the level of high school dropouts that queer people experience, and suicide rates, access to therapy and mental health resources for trans youth? Like, we're not having any of the real conversation. Like, if this is going to be our month, right, then how come we don't see enough LGBTQI people in media that are on TV telling people, like, while we're talking about all of this TV shit and Yes and Vogue and all that crap, why are we not talking about how this community has issues that need to be addressed beyond the glamour and the glitz, the glitz of it all? That's my biggest issue that I'm seeing, is that we're not evolving past a lot of the superficial shit that's being taken up. And a lot of that is based on the white people, the white queer folks that dominate PR and press. They're gateholders on the LGBTQI story and narrative. And to a certain degree, that is actually killing us. Because as much as they want to express their gratitude, right, to our quote unquote allies, they do all this with the sense of showing gratitude because they're scared that if we say more needs to be done, we're going to appear to be ungrateful. But that's what we need. And if you're working with allies and you're working with accomplices, telling these people what you need up front is more helpful for them than pretending you got it all together and then seeing the stuff crunch and collide. It's just gotta change across the board. So, yeah. So last week we talked about SEPTA and how SEPTA banned the poo shiesties. I wrote an op-ed for Philly Mag that came out last week that really talked about how banning shiesty ski masks on SEPTA won't reduce crime. And of course, a lot of people had mixed reactions to that. They got mad. They said, "Oh, Ernest, you're always mad about something." Well, that's not true. But let's just say, right, there's people who have these complaints about some of the, different perspectives and thoughts. And I just was like, listen, at the end of the day, as somebody who went to public school my entire life, up until I went to college, but I remember those dress codes. And some of y'all might remember them, right? I remember them telling us we couldn't wear Dickies because Dickies was connected to gangs activity. Bandanas, okay, gang paraphernalia, certain type of midriff crop tops, all kind of shit like that. Certain colors, certain bracelet colors. At one point, I remember one school I went to when I was, I think, in middle school, they were trying to make us all have clear backpacks so they could see what was in our backpacks. Like they were like recommending all of us to have clear backpacks to go to school with. It was just all of these weird dress codes that all of this was meant to try to prevent and reduce crime. And when you're dealing with kids and it comes to certain things, sure, but a lot of the stuff, these conversations and these dress codes and these respectability politics, a lot of that stuff never addressed the root causes. Well, they did address the root causes of the problem, and they did little to really make a dent in actual addressing crime. And what annoyed me was that the narrative I kept hearing from people who read the article and got into my story was like, it's a good start. It's a good start. It's a good start. How many times, Black people, and just everyone in general, listen to this, how many times are we going to keep saying it's a good start? Like, how many times are we going to stop doing it's a good start, it's a good start? Because that's what we do, right? We do it's a good start, and then we then leave it alone and we never revisit it. And then journalists like me are like, wait a minute, remember when you all said this was a good start, and then 90 days later the start became the finish? Yeah, that's how I feel about this situation with SEPTA banning these ski masks, which the youth call, of course, they call them Shiesties, which is named after Pooh Shiesty, the rapper who's currently incarcerated, but was really this popular rapper that really coined the hype around these face masks. A lot of people did not know anything about what a Shiesty was until I described it in full in my piece. But even more interesting, we're starting to see other people try to weigh in on this in ways that I feel like is over embellishing, right? We're seeing people say stuff like, "Oh, we're going to, this is the community. People are scared. This is a big step in the right direction, and we gotta have patience. And this is a major crime solver." And it's like, it's not, y'all. It's not. To be honest, I think this is a fashion trend. That is the fashion trend being taken advantage of by some criminals? Absolutely, right? There are some cases in which there has been reported stories that there was a mass, shooter or someone who did it. But that being said, though, how many other things have we seen be correlated that people try to make a correlation to crime on? People said, "Oh, if you're sagging." Then this goes to, if you're sagging, this goes to, this is gang activity. And remember how there was a fad where everybody wanted to like ban sagging, like, oh, if you sagging, it means this, it means that, all the different disgusting rumors and allegations and thoughts about sagging. And then you know what happened? Sagging just kind of disappeared, and it wasn't because of laws and policies. It was because there was a new trend. There was a new thing. I remember when I was younger, baggy clothes was the thing, and then Kanye West kind of came out and became this big fashion icon at the time, and people really wanted to wear fitted clothes, and people wanted to wear different types of clothes, and skinny jeans became the norm, and then people went back to wearing regular jeans, but that's the nature of fashion. That's the nature of how trends work. And sometimes, did crime reduce because people stopped sagging? No. Criminals found another thing, right? And that's the thing. Like, I think the Pooh Shiesty fad will die by the end of next year, if not sooner. I don't think we'll be talking about these masks. They'll fade away, not because everyone's gonna be banning them, but because naturally there'll be new music, there'll be a new trend, there'll be something new that people want to do. I look back at all the fashion trends when I was younger, like when I was like 16. I look at pictures, and there was a fad at one point where I don't know if many of my older folks remember this, but like there was a tall tee fad where everyone wore long, tall tees. Ooh, that was a thing. Big old tall tees. Because it was a group called them Franchise Boys, and they used to yuck in my white tee. You remember that? That was a thing. No one does big tall tees anymore. I remember the throwback jersey era when everybody wore the vintage, Mitchell and Ness jerseys, and sometimes they wore them on backwards. And remember Nelly had the eye patch, and people used to wear all the warm up clothes. Like it was always this basketball warm up look. Like you had the headband and the matching stuff, platinum FUBU. You had to have the sweat, the little arm pieces, like you was playing basketball. Even though you weren't a basketball player, you dressed like that a little bit as a swag. That was a moment. That was a moment. That was a fad. But no one wears that anymore, right? The trend moved on. That's that's important. And I think too often we see too many people trying to sugarcoat, sugarcoat what this stuff is. This is not crime prevention. This is respectability pod. This is a way to, basically criminalize black youth. Because let's be clear, it is anti-black. That SEPTA policy is anti-black. We know who's wearing those shiesties. We know that the shiesties being worn are being worn by black youth. So we're just not going to play those games. So I don't think it's going to solve anything. I think that the war on shiesties, this Philly war on ski mask is just foolish. And honestly, I hope legislators do not try to create any policy in city council around it because it's just stupid. They just need to stop. So, best of luck. So, in media this week, there's been some major moments, right? There's been speculation. Now, I'm here to confirm some things, but there was speculation earlier in the week that Jamel Hill was leaving Spotify, and that they wanted $100 million deal. They asked for and demanded $100 million, and it didn't happen. So now they're leaving. They got fired or quit. Well, that's not apparently true. Jamel Hill went on social media to say that they are not fired. That they're pretty much in the same pose, and this, that, and the third. I mean, where I stand on this, I don't know for a fact if you know how do I put this? I don't know if she, what's the word? Did she get fired or is she leaving? There has been a mass exodus of people leaving Spotify. I'll say that much. I don't know if that's her story. But I wouldn't be surprised. And I think more details will come, but there is, I think, an interest in people leaving Spotify because there hasn't seemed to be any major control, especially following the Joe Rogan controversy. I pulled Ernestly speaking off of Spotify a while ago. I'm not on Spotify. It's been like that for over a year now. I said, oh, you ain't got to tell me twice. And I've been all the better for it. But some people I feel like are still, feel like they don't want to leave what they have, this, that, and the third. Okay. but you got to do better by people. So we'll see. Also, one of the things that came out on Sunday is that Kristen Welker, who is a Philadelphian, black woman, she's been on MSNBC and NBC News. She's been doing her thing. She is going to now replace Chuck Todd on Meet the Press. Big damn deal. A black woman leading Meet the Press in this way, and Chuck Todd being booted. First of all, a lot of people have been over Chuck Todd for a minute. I'm one of those people. I've been over Chuck Todd. I just don't know why this white man was on TV as long as he was. He was very annoying. He wasn't the best interviewer. And I was like, when is he going to go? Now Kristen Welker is going to now replace him. And I've met Kristen Welker a lot of times. She has shown love to the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists, a really great black woman in media. Super excited to see where she goes and where she lands. Definitely think there's potential there for her to make history with this position. So I like her. And I think this is going to be good for, the community at large, in my opinion. So we'll see. We'll see. Movies, as far as movies go, I love my movies. I'm not going to hold you. I love my movies. I watched the Hillsong documentary on Hulu, but I think they also have it on Max, quote unquote HBO Max. Y'all, why didn't no one tell me about this Hillsong documentary? Like, it's 4 episodes, so it's about 4 hours long. I watched it all the way from beginning to end over the weekend. I got my everlasting life. The tea was hot. If you're looking to watch something different, but also relevant and current, I highly recommend this. I highly recommend Hillsong. I do. The Hillsong documentary was great. It was, what I liked about it was, they everyone's talking about the Carl Wentz, I think his name is. I want to make sure it's right. But Carl Wentz at Hillsong, Carl Lentz at Hillsong, that pastor who was the mega church pastor. But this is bigger than Carl Wentz. They talk about, Houston, who is the son of the church in Australia. They talk about Brian Houston, who was the global pastor. And, Carl Lentz was the big deal. He was the former celebrity, he was the former celebrity pastor who was like a spiritual advisor to Justin Bieber, Kendall Jenner, Selena Gomez. He was the lead pastor of Hillsong New York City until 2020, when he was fired by Hillsong Global pastor Brian Houston, which we'll talk about Brian Houston in a minute, for leadership issues and breach of trust, plus a recent revelation of moral failures. Translation, he was cheating on his wife. Now, Carl Lentz is a fine white man. He's 44 years old. He looks good. But his whole lifestyle was very much like a rock star type of energy. He went to Hillsong International Leadership College and became the poster child for the church. Now, Hillsong is crazy. Like, they're almost like Trump University, except worse, in my opinion. They have the church, which is the international church, which is like almost like a cult following all around the world. They got these mega churches. They have music, which gets Grammy nominations and wins, and gospel music that has Grammy appeal. They had conferences and conventions that sells tons of money for people to have access to them, and they make a boatload of money off of that. Then they have their school, their education in college, and they have all of this stuff that basically indoctrinates people. And they were doing well for many years. And what made them really popular in the United States, especially in NYC, they were selling out of like the Madison Square Garden, these big theater venues. I mean, they were crushing it. And they had so many people, just going to the church. And it was the music they made. It was very modern music. But they had all these appeals to different people in the industry that was both secular. And their gospel teachings and messages were not publicly, they came to be softer and very, non-denominational and very, palpable. But behind the scenes, I mean, the history of them were very much homophobic, very much slut-shaming, very much, no sex before marriage, very purist type of mentality. Now, this Carl Lentz guy was walking around acting like he had his shit together, but he had a whole affair on his wife, got caught cheating. They got on the computer and saw inappropriate stuff on the computer, and he basically got booted out. Now, at first glance, you think that Carl Lentz is like the scapegoat for everything. Well, the documentary breaks down how it's bigger than him. That Brian Houston, who's the global pastor, was the one whose father ran the church before him, had a history of sexual abuse. That his father, Frank Houston, had a history of sexual abuse, and that he was out here trying to cover up other acts of sexual abuse and misconduct that was happening at the church throughout the world. And now criminal charges have been filed. He is now, went through trial this month. We're going to find out details. He stepped down in March 22, in 2022, as the global senior pastor after he was found to have breached the moral code of the church in his behavior with two women. More details came out about him. They said that he, concealed sexual abuse of a child by his own father, which he was criminally charged in Australia for doing so. He became aware of this in the 1990s, but covered it up. He pled not guilty at the trial, which happened in October of this year. So much stuff has just taken place that has caused a lot of controversy and confusion. And to be honest, I don't want to say the words, are we surprised? But this is big. So we'll see what's going to happen to Brian Houston, if he's going to get sentenced, but he could get 5 years apparently in certain places. It's looking really, really big. So we'll see. We'll see how this shapes up and how this plays out. But as always, stay woke, but it is real. But that documentary was eye-opening for me on so many levels. There was something on Twitter that was trending, and a lot of people were talking about this, and I did want to bring this up a little bit. There is this recent trend that people are doing now where it's slightly on Twitter, but they were talking about like actresses and actors that you like personally and you'll watch anything they're in, but they can't act. And somebody started this and they talked about Gabrielle Union. I struggle with this. I like Gabrielle Union. I do. I like her as a person. I think she's a great person. People are on the internet saying she can't act. I'll say this. I don't necessarily know if it's that Gabrielle Union cannot act or is Gabrielle Union not getting enough good acting roles. I feel like a lot of black actresses and even other actresses, women in Hollywood, a lot of people, they don't get enough challenging roles that allow them to step outside the box and do something different. And maybe it could be because in order for you to get a new challenging role, you need to be good at a role that you do prior. Now, I will say Viola Davis is somebody who throughout her career has been a great actress, no matter what you put her in. I mean, y'all, I know this might be funny, but y'all know she's in the Tyler Perry movie, right? She's in a Tyler Perry movie. She's in the Browns, Meet the Browns. She's in there. She's also in Get Rich or Die Trying. She's in the movie, I think she's 50 Cent's mother or grandmother. I think she's the grandmother. But she's in Get Rich or Die Trying with 50 Cent. Did y'all know that? Viola Davis has been in movies all throughout our lives, and some of us may not remember because, she's so good at playing these roles. But Viola Davis has been doing the best she can with what she's had for many years before she now have arrived at being one of the greatest actresses of our generation. But before she was bodying Denzel, she had to start somewhere. I just wonder if Gabrielle Union is not getting enough roles where she can do that. But then I just feel like there's just performances that just don't make sense. Now, she was in The Inspection, where she got some awards buzz, festival buzz, and some nominations in the beginning. Of course, Jeremy Pope, who's an incredible actor, was like the lead, and he became the star of the film. But I got to give it to Gabrielle. She was not bad in that film. She wasn't bad. But, the consistency just isn't there. I know a lot of people love this show she did, Being Mary Jane. I never cared for that show. I didn't. I think my friend Amanda just thought that show was so good. I was like, girl, she just like she doesn't. Well, see, mm. See, if I say she has bad TV taste, she's gonna say, "But aren't you someone who like baddies and views?" Look, I do. Yes, yes, I watch baddies, and I know that anything I watch on Zeus is trash TV, and I'm never gonna deny that I have a trash reality TV taste. But Being Mary Jane aged badly. If you go back and you watch Being Mary Jane now, nothing about that show was really that great or pioneering. It was just kind of like, okay. I always feel like she's just Gabrielle Union's typecasted. I feel like she's like her typecast character often is she's the black woman who like has it all together, that like has a great career, she's pretty, she's fabulous, but she's missing a man. And I feel like that's always been her issue. Like that, like her character typecast is she's the black woman who like her life is great. She's got it together. She's smart. She's on point. She looks good. And her love life is just a disaster. How many times have you seen her play this role? Let me break it down. Deliver Us from Eva, textbook example. Really, that was a good film. Now, I liked her in that. Um, Let me give another example. Two Can Play That Game when she played Connie, which is also iconic role, but it's the same fucking character. She was like playing that bitchy type of character. Let's talk about Daddy's Little Girls by Tyler Perry. Remember, she's the lawyer. She's a smart woman who got her shit together, and she's like trying to figure out if she wants to be with Idris Elba or not because he's a little rough on the edges. Like literally, that's her character. She plays that typecast character. So, I will say my person that I put up and people got upset was Michael B. Jordan. You know, I just don't think Michael B. Jordan can act. I just don't think he can act. I think he's a good movie star. He's charismatic. Like, I'll say this. I mean, to be fair, let me give you an example. Being a movie star don't often mean you can act. Not everybody can be Tom Cruise. Like, Tom Cruise can act, and Tom Cruise is a movie star. You know, controversies aside, the boy can act, and he can also be a movie star. The Rock cannot act. Sorry. Rock look good. Rock is fine. But The Rock cannot act, y'all. Like, The Rock has been playing the same character for God knows how long. How long? Vin Diesel, same actor. And we're going to say something controversial in the show. That guy, Batista, the wrestler who is in the Glass Onion, Knives Out Glass Onion film, he is really trying to be a real actor. And he's putting in that work. And we don't give him enough credit. But that guy's really trying to act. For real, for real. The Rock doesn't have versatility. The Rock is always playing the same person. And he's making money and laughing at the bank. He's one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood right now. So he's playing the game. And we're not even going to talk about Kevin Hart. That's not acting at all. That's just him being himself. But, I don't think Michael B. Jordan is a good actor. I don't. I just find him to be, very... Like, I feel like he's trying, but I just don't get it. I feel like, again, it's like he's a typecast, right? I feel like the only times I felt like there was potential was in Black Panther. I thought his character as Killmonger was very versatile, no pun intended. I found him to have a better, but I'm like, is it because he had a better script, a better role? But like in Just Mercy and these other characters, I think he's just as kind of boring and bland. Like I don't see range in him. And I'm just biting my tongue because I really want to. Not y'all not ready for that conversation yet about. Y'all not ready for that conversation about him. But I think there's a lot of things that's holding him back from being the best actor he could be, and he needs to look in the mirror, and he needs to get real, and he just needs to come harder. No pun intended. I just think he should just be yourself, Michael B. Jordan. I just get disingenuous from him. I get that he's trying to be something he's not. I just feel like who he is as a person when he's free with his certain people, he seems to be happier. And I just feel like we don't get that in his acting. I feel like he's always trying to be super bravado and super, ladies' man in the way that he carries on as a Hollywood actor. But then there's this interesting, nuanced side of him that's very fluid in his expressions and thoughts. And I'm like, why does that guy don't come out on the screen? He's got to let go of something. Something's holding him back from being the best actor he could be. That's all I'm going to say on that topic. I'm not going to go any further. But I would just say that, like, a lot of the films, he's playing the same person. Or, it's either he's playing two types of people. He's three types of characters. He's either like the servant. No, let's be clear, two characters, because he's like two-dimensional. Barely. Like, he's either playing the servant, at your service, officer, gentleman type of guy, or he's playing this wannabe hard, I'm from the streets, no one gave me a fuck, my mother wasn't home dude. Like, that's his character arc. He doesn't have a range. And that's why even with Black Panther character, that's how he played that character, which I thought that was a good acting choice. But outside of that, everything's kind of like flat. It's flat. Like, when you think about all the films he plays, he's always playing a soldier or some type of like straight serious. It's always some type of like subservient, straight, super straight butch guy that is like, and it's boring. I'm just bored. I'm bored. And like, he gotta leave the sequels alone. Like, he love a sequel, child. We're done with the sequels. We're done with superhero films. Just do something different. Like, I just want to see him play something different. Cut the mustache off. Get into a fun character that's like out of this box. Like, who has really great range and we sleep on him sometimes? I know this is random as fuck, but who can act his ass off and we don't talk about him enough? Sean fucking Penn. Sean Penn is an incredible actor. I know that's random, and I know the other boys out here cutting up, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, got babies in their late 60s and 70s and shit. But let me just say, Sean Penn, y'all go back and watch Sean Penn films. That's your homework assignment. Go watch a good Sean Penn film. Hey, it's Pride Month. Go watch him in Milk. He plays an Oscar-winning role. He plays Harvey Milk. And I'm not really crazy about straight people playing in gay roles, but Sean Penn convinced me, child. I loved him in Milk. I love his films. Mystic River, go back and watch that. He won another Academy Award for Best Actor for that. He's a great actor. I Am Sam, another great film. He plays an actor with a mental disability and the compassion he gives to the role. Dead Man Walking with Sarah Susan Sarandon. Okay, I'm being a thespian right now, but I just love Sean Penn. We don't give Sean Penn enough credit sometimes. I know he's got his problems and his issues, and there are some not so good things about him. But as an actor, he's a good actor. And fun fact, he was married to Jenny from Forrest Gump, Robin Wright, who went by Robin Wright Penn for a while. She's a great actress. He was married to her. Better way to know who Robin Wright is for those. He was married to Claire Underwood from House of Cards. Sean Penn was. So, just putting that out there. As far as music, what have I been listening to? Okay. Only one song I've been addicted to. I'm addicted to it. It's called Put It on the Floor Again. Last week I was talking about this song a little bit, talking about, the song, but then it came out days after, because look at me being a trendsetter and a tastemaker. It came out days later that Cardi B was going to be on this remix. So the song is called Put It on the Floor Again, the remix. And when I tell you the bars that Cardi B delivers in this damn song is out of this world. She says, I'm sexy dancing on the floor. I feel like Britney Spears. Her mind. Okay, if you don't understand the lyric, let me explain. I'm sexy dancing on the floor. I feel like Britney Spears. Okay, I'm sexy dancing around the house. It's dancing around the house. If you've been following Britney for the past couple of years, you notice that she got these bizarre, weird, odd videos of her dancing around the house in clad lingerie and, short shorts and panties and getting her life and dancing around. Now, people might question her mental health based on the way that her performing. But for Cardi to say, I'm sexy dancing around the house, I feel like Britney Spears. I'm like, girl, I love it. She has other bars, but I'm going to encourage you all to listen to it. But Latto, good job. Good job. You've given us the song of the summer. The whole mood, the whole attitude, the beat. It's just so. It's just a banger. It is my song of the summer so far. It is a song I can't stop listening to. Um, Rip Me Out the Plastic. I've been acting brand new. Like what? Rip Me Out the Plastic. I've been acting brand new. That is my lyric. That's another great lyric. Rip me out the plastic. I've been acting brand new. And I hope y'all get what that means. Or as Cardi B said in the song, put a ribbon on me. I've been acting brand new. Listen, I know. These are not the most, you know, deep lyrics and bars, but just the craftiness is enough to appreciate. And perfect for captions. Just saying. So, other things that had me going this week, I really, really loved the TLC Forever documentary on Lifetime. You all may have forgotten about it. Go watch it, DVR it. It's on Lifetime. Go watch it on DVR. But this TLC documentary was just everything in a bag of chips. I really like what Lifetime is doing right now when it comes to black like content. They have really great documentaries, and they've been really getting the original artists and people to work alongside them. Like a couple years ago, they did a special with Wendy Williams. They did the Wendy Williams biopic, and to be honest, it wasn't that bad because Wendy Williams actually, co-signed on it and gave it a thumbs up and approved of it. And she was really good in it. So I was taken aback that Wendy Williams actually gave them the time or day to let them, do her documentary. But it was really good. I was really impressed with it. And really, really loved it. Um Also too, there was also conversation about, just what happened to the two women since Lisa Left Eye passed away. T-Boz and Chili are still alive and they're with the group. There's been a lot of things. Fun fact. So I don't know if you all remember the show Are You the Girl? Are You the One? Where they were looking for a third member to be a part of their TLC group, and that kind of fizzled out. The funny fact is the winner of that show went to the same middle school as me. Like we went to the same middle school. So random. Random fact. But they try to do a lot of different things, but it's just not, it hasn't been the same. But they've been able to maintain support with the reunions and and just who they are. T-Boz had a health scare, and other things. But in other news, connect to, I don't want to talk too much of that. I want people to watch it. So it's on Lifetime. It's called TLC Forever. It's incredible. It deserves to be watched. I love them. They're a great group. But in other news, it came out recently that Chili has said, from TLC, that her and Usher had an on again, off again situation up until 2019. That they were still messing around and doing their thing up until 2019. Like, even after Confessions, all the songs, all the years, that apparently they just couldn't get enough of each other. Mm, mm. Now, she has a new boo now, Chili does. She's dating this really cute hunky guy from I think his name is Matthew Lawrence, who is they got a thing together. Matthew Lawrence, who is a big popular 90s actor, he was a 90s heartthrob. She's been telling everybody about him. She says he's a great kisser. Chili is 52 years old. Matthew Lawrence, everybody remembers him. And there's been some confessions she's made. She's told the public, she says that her and her boyfriend don't really talk about race. Matthew Lawrence is, he's white, but she said they don't talk about race. They have so much in common. If you remember him, he was in Mrs. Doubtfire. He was in Boy Meets World. That was one of his big signature roles. He is 43, so there is a nice little gap between them. But they're together, and it's cute. It's cute. It's interesting. But apparently they've been going strong. So, we'll see what it's given. But it's interesting because he was married from 2019 to 2022 to a woman named Cheryl Burke. And then right after he broke up with her, him and Chili been having a thing. So I'm like, all right, Chili, I see you, girl. But I don't know if it was necessary. Did we have to know about her? And if we need to know about the relationship between Usher and her going from 2019, that just seems to be very. Mm, I mean, I guess, girl, I guess. But yeah, well, I guess. As far as TV goes, Bad Boys Texas, you know how I feel about it. Summer House Martha's Vineyard, it's going. What I love about this show, and again, please watch it. It's the best show right now. Summer House Martha's Vineyard. It's on Bravo. And by the way, I watched the Bravo Vanderpump Rules reunion. I didn't really watch the show this season. I'm really not really into Vanderpump, but I watched the reunion because I heard a lot about the cheating and the Tom, whatever his name is, who's a horrible guy, Sandoval. I just feel like, as somebody who watches Black reality TV, I'm like, this is what y'all go up for? This is spicy to y'all? I guess. But I do now want to talk about Succession because now Succession's been out. Let me tell y'all something about Succession. Because I didn't want to talk about it last week because people were still watching it. I don't want to put spoilers out. But let me tell you about Succession. Go back and watch the first episode of the season. Not of this season, but of the very beginning. I watched that again because a friend told me to just go back and watch it. Y'all, it was in front of us the whole entire fucking time. We was avoiding the inevitable. It was all there. It was right in front of our eyes, and we paid it no mind. And it was going to happen the way it was going to happen. And, look, white women are going to white women, okay? And that's really what Siobhan did. Siobhan is a white woman. But at the same time, fuck old boy. Like, really, fuck Kendall Roy. Like, we were at one point forgetting that Kendall killed somebody, y'all. And he was trash. And honestly, even the way he did his family, he didn't deserve to be over the company. He was just a mess waiting to happen. And Roman was just never, there was a moment right in the season where I was like, okay, Roman, get it. We see you. But Roman just, whatever, just played whatever games he played. Siobhan just was gullible. And also Siobhan she's strategic, but she's strategic at the point where she fucks herself over, but can always create the red carpet for somebody else. Like, that's her role. Her role is always, I'm going to sabotage myself for the larger cause. And notice that every time she sabotaged herself throughout the show, it always benefited Tom. Like, she always benefited her man. It was almost like you would think they were doing this together, but they weren't. But in some ways, it benefited her. And so I think, in a nutshell, she took a step back to say to herself, if I let my brothers take over the company, my marriage is split, my husband has nothing, I'm a woman with a child that I'm about to birth. You think I can birth a child by myself and be a single mother without the comfort of power and access and proximity to power? No, because white women's desires oftentimes, and we talk about this when we look at what's going on with Taylor Swift, which, by the way, I'm just completely upset and disappointed, but a lot of white women, even in trying to be in situations of allyship and commitment, they are always considering negotiating themselves in positions. And that's a horrible position to be in as a person, is that when you are somebody that knows you have privilege, you are coming to people that are marginalized and trying to barter a deal that still benefits you. That's not fucking allyship. Newsflash, it's not. If you come into the table with this hierarchy, right, this mindset that you're superior, and you recognize that coming to the table and you're treating your situation like a negotiation where it's like can I get this? Can I do that? I need you for this. I want to help you, but it's also transactional to help you. You're not a fucking ally. And there's a lot of white women and a lot of white people that do that, where they operate on this transactional type of behavior. It's subtle, but it's very visible. It starts off very much like I want to be a giver. I want to support. I want to fund this. I want to give this. But eventually there's a need that will then arise and show itself up. And then there's the expectation for you to then pay or to support or to do something to show the gratitude and reciprocity. But the truth of the matter is that when you're operating in a place of privilege and power, you as the white person should not be expecting any gratitude or anything because you've already have benefited off of the marginalization. So you're trying to create this I do for you, you do for me, as if both sides are even and equal, means you do not know what inequity is, which therefore means all of this is fraudulent from the start. And so that's how Taylor Swift has been operating in this Ice Spice controversy and in general, which is why I'm a little disappointed with her, and I'm putting her on ice right now, just keeping it 100. But also how Siobhan operated throughout this entire show was that she was never going to help anyone at the expense of how it will benefit her. And so she's a textbook archetype of white women in power across the board. Because what she did to her brothers was that she said to herself, wait a minute, I'm not going to get my way. So if I can't get my way, they can't get their way. But if they can't get their way, how do I get somewhat of the way? And so she thought, wait a minute, my husband is going to benefit from my failure. If my husband, when she found out her husband was going to be next, that's when she changed her mind, y'all. Like that moment when he told her he was the one, she then realized her escape route. Because let's be clear, she was never happy with Kendall getting what he wanted from the jump. She was never happy with it. She only went with it because she just thought she had no other choice. She had no other play. She had no other option. She had to support her brother. She had to support them because if she didn't, they were going to lose everything because she did not think her husband was going to have a card in his hand. So when she found out she wasn't the one, then she said, I'm going to fuck that white man over because he backstabbed me. See how the dynamic shift? She was going to side with her brothers to fuck over the guy, right? The one who owned, the company, Gizmo, whatever. She wanted to fuck over him because he backstabbed her. But remember, she was plotting against her brothers the whole show, aligning herself with this white man so she can get ahead. When she found out white man was going to take the power away, she aligned herself with her brothers to fuck them away. Even though she knew she wasn't going to be the president, she was going to have proximity through her brothers of power. But then something happened. She found out through Greg that actually Tom was going to be the next in power. And then she looked at her belly and said, see, keeping this baby is how I keep my proximity to power. And remember the conversation they had early on the plane that day when they were discussing marriage. And she was kind of like, look, I don't want us to break up because it won't be a good look as a CEO. It clearly meant that was the same case for Tom. Tom could not be divorced from her, knowing what he knew with them having a baby. So it was going to be the reversal insurance plan policy that she didn't even realize she created for herself in that situation, which is why when they were in that car and they held each other's hands, that was the covenant they made for each other. It wasn't known, but she set this up by design to create a situation for a safety net for herself. And that, my friends, is the contradiction of white women in power. That's what she did. So she realized, I have his baby, who is technically the successor, right? That's what succession means. She had the succession plan. I mean, look at Roman. Roman was calling out, Kendall about it. Like, Kendall, them kids ain't the kids. Them ain't your kids, right? He got gangster with him. Like Roman got gangster with Kendall about the kids. The only person in that conversation that had a successor, technically, was in her womb, her husband. Succession. Bingo. That's my take. That's what I think happened. I could be wrong, but, not often. Whew. So this week has been great. Looking forward to next week. There's some surprises on the horizon. Some cool new book info that is coming up. Couple of big interviews that I'm doing this week. Some big major shakeups across the city with the city budget. I'm back on WRD for City Council Live. Break is over for those city council members. I'll be back on from 10 to 1 for the rest of city council sessions. Dinner with my fave, Amanda and Joe, was this weekend as well at Booker's. Great conversations, great dinner, great talk. Lots to get ready for the summer across the board. They know some of the things coming up down the horizon, the pipeline, but they have been sworn into secrecy not to tell anybody or drop any hints or anything on social media. So, that's that. But, it's a great summer. Welcome to Pride Month. Don't be scared. Say gay. Do everything you can. And as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.